Hey, what's up, guys? It's your boy Dan Minark here, and today we're looking at a subreddit r/EntitledParents. This is basically like one of the best subreddits out there, I think, at least. I think it's really funny and interesting. So yeah, let's get right into it. First one: give my son all your fishing gear and the fish you caught. So this is my first time sharing in the sub. Hope it's okay. H equals my friend, EM entitled mom, EK entitled kid, NK nice kid, ND nice dad. This story happened about 2 years ago. I always enjoy fishing and frequently fished out the river for a short ride away from my house. There was also a park at the spot I fished, so there was usually some kids running around. Thought they tended to stay away from the spot I fished from. There was a lot of snakes there. I had been bitten quite a few times. It was a pretty slow day, and I hadn't caught anything in the 2 hours I was there. So a kid, about 8 or 9, comes over and asks what I'm doing. After I explain I'm fishing, he takes a huge interest in it and starts talking up a storm with me about it. I'm always happy to talk about fishing, and the kid seemed pretty hyped and said he was going to ask his parents to get him a rod. So up until this point, I was having a good time, but then entitled mom comes onto the scene. She walked over with a younger kid who was only about 4. The kid I was talking to threw a somewhat worried glance at her, but continued talking to me. It was then that the other kid spoke up. He asked his mom what me and his brother, I don't know that, but I assumed it after, were doing. I explained that I was fishing and his brother was interested in it. Nice kid told his mom how it was really fun and he wanted to start fishing. Entitled kid then said he also wanted to fish and started begging Entitled mom to take them to the store and get him fishing stuff. Entitled mom then looked at me and told me to give my rod and gear to her kids. I had read a few stories from her at that point, but it was one of those things you assume is never going to happen to you. So I was speechless for a second. Entitled mom then goes on about how buying rods for them would be expensive, since I probably have more that I can give them my rod. Now I do own several other rods, but she is right about good rods being expensive, and I'm not handing up my fishing gear to random people who demand it. I politely tell him I can't just give away my rod, and it's too big for Entitled Kid anyway. I tell her that she can buy some rods quite cheap at quite a few stores. She then proceeds to start yelling at me for calling her kid small and demands I hand over my rod, but also all my other lures and gear. I stood my ground and harshly refused, but at this point I was getting annoyed with this woman. But then a fish took my line and I quickly turned my attention to that. It was a bass, and to those of you who don't fish, bass are a fun catch due to the hard fight they put up. This one was pretty big and jumped out of the water attempting to spit my hook. After a few minutes, I brought it in and began trying to unhook it. I had forgotten about Entitled Mom and Entitled Kid at this point, but when I turned around, I found Entitled Kid going through my tackle box while Entitled Mom was holding my bait. She then told me to hand over the fish since I could just catch more, and that her sons needed to be able to tell their friends they caught a fish. I then told her 2 things. 1, I was a catch and release person. 2, to kindly shove off, with much harsher words being used for the second one than I care to post here. I then grab my bait from her and order Entitled Kid to get away from the tackle box. She gets this enraged look on her face, but seeing my much more enraged look, she chooses flight over fight. She then took Entitled Kid and Nice Kid and left. I didn't see her for the rest of the day and thought that was the end of it. But the next day, I came back to do some more fishing. Entitled Mom, Entitled Kid, Nice Kid, and this time, Nice Dad were there with brand new fishing rods. But the moment Entitled Mom spots me, she comes over and starts yelling at us, claiming that we were the reasons her sons weren't catching anything. I told her about this, and he starts to explain how you don't always catch stuff, but I cut them both off by telling her to fuck off. At this point, Nice Dad comes over, and I admit I was a little worried this guy was going to be like his wife, but he's a chill guy and takes our side. Entitled Mom tries to stay and continue to accuse us of completely random things I don't even remember. Entitled Dad comes back with a Nice Kid a few minutes later, and they both apologize for Entitled Mom's behavior. After that, she didn't bother us, though Entitled Dad and Entitled Kid fished with us for the rest of the day. This person keeps messing up the story, but I think Entitled Kid didn't like fishing after not catching anything on his first day. To any aspiring anglers, don't let this dissuade you. because we never saw him or Entitled Mom after that. But Nice Dad and Nice Kid still kept coming and fishing together. So I guess it's a happy ending with Entitled Mom getting spited by us, and a father and son finding a great family activity in fishing. Jeez. That's crazy to me. Like why? It just doesn't make much sense to me, you know? Like, she could have just not done any of that, and it would have just been a simple story of just, I don't know. How can people be like that, though? Like, legitimately. It's quite cringe. Quite cringe. Entitled Mom demands a free cake on her child's birthday. Gets a temporary ban from the store. Okay, so this is what happened about a year ago, right before the pandemic started. Here's the cast. Me, duh. K is Catherine. I'm not going with Karen. My aunt and old friend of mine are called Karen, and they're the nicest people you could know. M is manager. SK is sweet kid. AD is awesome dad. I also will mention a cashier, but he's not really a big part. He can never really say anything. So on March 8th, 2020, my dad and I were waiting in a line at a store, and I had a mini chocolate cake with me, along with some candles and some sprinkles. I hadn't celebrated my birthday in 2 years, but this would make year 3 as my whole family canceled on me due to the pandemic, which I get. But since I hadn't had a good birthday celebration in some time, my dad decided it would be a let's eat cake and watch movies tonight kind of birthday. I had put my cake on the conveyor belt along with my other items before putting my headphones in while I'd wait in the line with my dad. I was halfway to jamming out to my music when I felt a tap on my shoulder. I looked behind me only to see a woman looking at me. Before smiling, she wasn't wearing a mask at the time because they weren't required, but my dad and I still wear as it is better to be safe than sorry. I take out my headphones and just stare at her. She had shoulder-length, dirty blonde hair, a pink shirt that barely reaches her belly button, and a pair of thigh-high shorts. Where I live, it's always sunny, so those outfits are pretty normal. She was maybe 34 or 35 in the looks of it. She had a child with her, maybe 10 years old. He also wasn't wearing a mask, but he was a pretty sweet kid. He was actually really quiet and not entitled like his mother. Me. Hello, ma'am, I said. I kinda nervous. I had suffered with anxiety for a while, so talking to people I don't know can get me nervous. Hey, kid, can I ask you where you got that? She says, looking in the direction of the conveyor belt. Got what? I looked in that direction. That, she says, pointing at the cake. Oh, you mean my cake? I got it from the back of the store where all the other baked goods are. Catherine. Blank. I hope that helps, ma'am. Without even a thank you, the woman ran off, leaving her kid at the car right behind me. He just looked at me and smiled. I like your purple hair, miss. I remember just seeing my little brother and smiling to myself before I responded. I like your Cars t-shirt. It's pretty cool. After that, my dad and I just shared a glance about what the woman did, and I just shrugged. After about 3 minutes, my dad and I make it to the front of the line, and my dad realizes he left his wallet in the car. Since we were parked close to the store, the cashier let my dad run out to the car to get his wallet. Right after he left, I heard a scream. I and everyone else turned their head to see the woman I talked about earlier. This brat stole my cake, she says, pointing at me. What? No, Yes, you did, you brat. She didn't even let me finish my sentence. You stole my cake, and then you were really rude to me when I asked for it back. Walks around the conveyor belt and stands next to the cashier and looks at me. Is this true, miss? Did you take her cake? No, I didn't. Today's my birthday, and my dad and I were just getting me a small cake. Who is now back in line with their kid. Catherine, who's now back in line with the kid. That's not true. I told you it was my kid's birthday, and you just got mad at me and took my cake. Me, close to tears to this point. Ma'am, stop lying, please. I already told you this was my cake. As the woman started to yell at me, the manager and even the cashier about how I was lying, I heard some woman walk behind me. I could see it was my dad. Of someone, not some woman. I remember hugging him tightly before he put his hand on my shoulders and asked me what happened. I just pointed at the yelling woman, and he nodded before getting in front of me and looking at the woman. May I ask you why you're screaming at my daughter? She stole my child's birthday cake. Now get out of my way and let me talk to the little C. Yes, she swore in front of everyone, even her kid. Didn't even call me bitch. She called me cunt. Ma'am, let me ask you this. If this is your cake, why do my daughter and I have the candles and sprinkles? Why, while you only have a magazine, a bag of chips, and a soda on your part of the conveyor belt? While his logic didn't make the best sense, the woman went quiet. Manager, he looks at my dad and me and goes to talk when we hear a little voice. That's her cake, he says with a smile. All of us look. And honestly, I thought he was saying it was his mother cake. Whose cake is it, kiddo? The manager asked, looking down at the 10-year-old. The girl with the purple hair. He pointed at me before going to the conveyor belt. He stood as tall as he could before pushing the cake towards me and my dad. Catherine. What? Also, if you don't believe me, my daughter, or the kid, there are cameras all around the store. If the woman was quiet before, she was extra quiet now, and her face was turning white. We paid for the cake, candles and sprinkles. Then on the way out of the store, I could hear the woman yelling about how she wanted a free cake for all the bullshit she had to deal with today because of that entitled brat and her father. My dad and I just laughed and left the store. Before we left, I turned around and saw the small kid waving at me as his mother kept yelling louder and louder. I waved back at him and my dad and I left. Around a month later, my dad and I had come back, masked up and hand sanitized again, just coming for groceries. I met up with a worker who was a friend I knew in high school. We started talking. The lady came up, then looked at me and laughed. Wait, that entitled brat was you? I just nodded and looked at them, curious as to why they were still laughing. Though laughs, my friend saw how the woman knocked down the magazine and lollipop stands by the cash register, along with cussing the manager and the cashier. She ended up getting a temporary ban from the store. I'd also found out that my dad and I got the last mini cake that day. We both had a laugh, and then I said goodbye and caught up with my dad so we could leave the store soon. To be honest, I just remembered this story because it's almost March 8th again, lol. My birthday's coming up. I wonder if I'll see the kid or the mother when I get a mini cake again. God, I hope not. That's funny to me. I mean, obviously, take away the clear explanation to all these stories, which is it's fake, so just pretend that none of them can be fake. But that's a pretty good story. If it is real, big up to that kid. The kid's a G, and the mom's kind of a bitch. But yeah, that's stupid. I hate people like this. And what do they think they're honestly gonna get out of it? It's stupid. I don't know. Entitled stepmom bought me a locket for Christmas, only so she could steal it. I always have loved the concept of a locket. I have a small collection of them now, each a reminder of someone I love, but this one I never replaced. This happened back in 2011 when I was 13 years old. I had been wanting a 4-picture locket to have pictures of my younger half-brother and 3 cousins on my dad's side. Since I had been wanting it for months and Christmas coming up, I asked my bio dad for it. Though I honestly didn't expect to come through, his new wife made it clear she favored her 2 sons, my stepbrother and half-brother, and wanted as little to do with me and my older brother. Even I didn't fully understand what was happening at the time. This often meant gifts from me and my brother were an afterthought over the years. I had lost count of how they had gotten us that useless or something we didn't want. For example, clothing that's too small is too small. So I was surprised when I went down for Boxing Day and my first gift was given to me after opening our stockings was a locket I'd wanted. It was beautiful. It was a silver heart with a smaller heart engraved in the center and open like a 4-piece clover. I had no pictures in it, but my bio dad promised me he would email the photo of his little brother, and I was going to call my uncle as soon as I got home. But that would never happen. When I got home the next day, I was unpacking and couldn't find the locket anywhere. It wasn't in my suitcase or backpack. I was devastated. When I talked to his wife, she said I had forgotten it on the table and that could grab it the next time I was down at their house. I was so stupid when I was younger. I never thought to question why I didn't remember taking it out of my bag. It would be the end of January before I visited again. When I asked about the locket, I was told that they had tried to get the pictures done for me, but the photos had come out blurry and had to be redone. This is a story I got for weeks. They were waiting for the photos, and it had changed, and so they had misplaced the locket and couldn't find it. I was more devastated than when I realized I hadn't taken it home, as that had gone from I had to wait to get it back, and I was never getting it back. Then Easter happened. I was down bio dad's for Easter that year. I was taking turns with my little brother hiding plastic eggs around the living room for the other when bio dad's wife came downstairs. She was wearing the locket. She must have taken the fact that I had stopped asking for it and that must have forgotten about the locket. I didn't say anything when I saw it. The look was almost like she wanted me to. What had hurt the most wasn't having the locket stolen, was the fact that my bio dad had known about what she had done and had been lying to me about it. It was the first I understood that he didn't love me anymore. He was more interested in doing her bidding than protecting his children. Jeez. So that's fucked. It's not even like entitled step parent. It's also just entitled fucking parent. Jesus. Like, it says they cut him off. He should. I would never talk to him again. That's so fucked. How do people like this, like, genuinely exist? They shouldn't. Entitled bitch steals and is defended by her entitled mom. For the context, I'm a med student, undergraduate, in India. Entitled bitch is one of my batchmates. She's the typical spoiled 25-year-old woman who can go any lengths to get her work done. Last month, we had our 4th year university exams. After the theory exam, we had to submit our record books to the concerned departments. Those record books had the entries of what all experiments we did in the labs, which we sealed by the HOD and hold marks/pointers, which help you pass the exams. These records are also scrutinized by external examiners. So after submission, we were called the day before the practical exam to check if the record is there in the lab or not. To my great surprise, I did not find my record there. I reported it to the professor, who had then checked the previous assignment list, and my name was there in the list. So he helped me to find the record, and after some searching, I found out through another person that she had heard entitled bitch talking about stealing my record and giving it under her name. I was mortified. I immediately rushed towards her before she left and confronted her about the record situation. She straightforward denied it with a smug look. Then I tried to force her to tell the truth. Her mother jumped in the argument and started to berate me about her genius daughter. She even said that her daughter would never do such a thing, and I should rather do my work instead of disturbing others. She left with her mother after that. Also, her genius daughter had failed the 4th year university exams twice. I went to report it, and my professor, who asked for the record to be brought out. She had stuck her sealed sheet under the sealed sheet in her record. He then informed it that the HOD, who then, with his own letter, removed both sides of the sheet and ensured that there would be no problem. Next day on the exam, she very smugly went past me, only to find out the record to be with me. She started to scream that I had stolen her record. On hearing it, the professor came out and took her to the HOD's office, only to let her know that she will have to write that whole exam next year. Last, I remember seeing her outside the principal's office. They were both glaring daggers at me, while I wished them both a good day with a smug smile. Oh, Jesus, dude. That's so funny. Like, imagine, like, trying to steal somebody and then getting caught, and then, like, your mom being like, no, it was not stealing. That's just funny to me. Well, yeah, this is, like, it's a good Reddit. I really like it. I really like, just, like, talking Reddit. Those are always fun to me. Let me know what you guys think. If you want me to do more Reddits, whatever, I'm going to do other Reddits you want, like, you know about, then I'll do any of those. So, yeah. Well, basically, this has been your boy, Dan of an Erg. Make sure you leave a like, you leave a subscribe, all that jazz, and keep on supporting. Tag friends, yeah, just subscribe, tag 9 friends you'll die, and keep supporting.